All right, welcome into our ST255 Anatomy and Physiology lecture. There are quite a few slides in this lecture. It may be posted in two different sections, but for this, we will go over them all in one. Some of them will be quick, some of them won't. But again, this is a full anatomy review, so having a lot of slides is going to be imperative for you. That's not even going into major detail. So this is what you need, though, to help you in order to pass your CST exam. So let's get started. So first, we're going to start off with some med terms for you with the body. You're going to see here your anatomical stance, standing erect, palms facing outward, feet forward. All directional terms use this anatomical stance as a starting point. So you need to be able to visualize this. All right, so let's get into some more med term for you, some more anatomical directional terms. So here you'll see superior versus inferior. So your superior is going to be towards the head. Your inferior is towards the feet. Cephalic versus caudal. You can see that here in the picture. Cephalic is towards the head. Caudal towards the feet. Anterior versus posterior. So your anterior is going to be towards the front of the body. Your posterior is towards the rear of the body. Medial versus lateral. So medial is going to be towards the center of your body, towards that midline of your body, that sagittal plane. And then lateral is going to be to the outside of the body. Proximal versus distal, that's going to be more of a point of attachment type of distance. Like your elbow is more proximal to your shoulder than your fingertips. Your fingertips are more distal to your shoulder than your elbow. Superficial versus deep. Superficial is towards the surface of the body. Deep is going to be more into the cavities of the body. Visceral versus parietal is listed on here. You won't see those as much as the others. So your body planes, these are going to be imaginary lines that slice through the body. Your coronal plane runs vertically, front and back sections. Sagittal is going to be your longitudinal plane, a vertical plane, left and right halves. Again, that's at your midline. Your transverse plane is horizontally upper and lower. That cuts your body completely in half. Your body cavities are here for you. Your dorsal cavity is going to include your cranial and your spinal cavity, and it houses the brain and pituitary glands, while your spinal encloses the spinal cord. Your ventral cavity is going to be your thoracic, your mediastinum, your pericardial, and your pleural spaces. So here you'll see your thoracic contains your heart, lungs, trachea, and bronchial tubes. Your mediastinum is right in the middle, and that's going to be located between the lungs, and it's going to contain the heart, trachea, esophagus, and bronchial tubes. Pericardial within the mediastinum is formed from the pericardium double membrane. It's going to surround your heart. Your pleural is going to be the smaller cavity within your thoracic cavity. This is a really good graphic right here, this picture, to show you guys the different cavities. Your abdominopelvic, a lot of your general surgery is going to be taking place here. It houses your digestive organs, such as stomach, liver, gallbladder, your small and large intestines. And then you have your pelvic cavity, which is inferior, which means below, to abdominal cavity. It houses the male or female reproductive organs, urinary system, rectum, and your anus. This is your quadrants and your regions of the abdomen. So these are a big deal. You should know these and learn these different regions and the quadrants here for you, and which organs they contain. I have some quadrant questions for you. What quadrant is the liver located in? What quadrant is the left ovary located in? What quadrant is the spleen located in? What quadrant is the gallbladder located in? Where does the imaginary line pass through to divide the upper and lower quadrants? Which quadrants are the ribs located? Which quadrant is the appendix located? And which quadrant is the descending colon located? I'll give you guys a second to look this over. Here you're going to see your organs of your quadrants. You can check your answers here. You'll see your liver, your ovaries, your gallbladder. It's all going to be shown here in this list. This is a great graphic also to use to learn these quadrants and what's in these quadrants. So levels of organization of the body you have here, you start off with your cell, you go into tissue, your tissues are going to form organs, your organs are going to form your organ system, which are then going to form an organism. And in our case, we're talking about Homo sapiens or human beings. Let's get into some epithelial tissue. So this is a graphic that's going to show you them named by shapes, which is what they typically are going to use to name these by shape for you. So you're going to have your squamous cells. You have your simple squamous. This is going to cover surfaces of pleura, peritoneum, and pericardium. It's going to be within the heart, and it also is going to line your blood vessels. Your stratified squamous is going to be your skin, lines the mouth and the esophagus. You have your cuboidal, that's going to line the surface of your kidney tubules, and it's going to cover your ovaries. And your columnar is going to line your stomach, your intestines, and part of your respiratory tract. So that has a little bit of expansion to it too. So you can see here, so your squamous are going to be flat, scale-like cells with flattened central nucleus. Your cuboidal are going to be cells that are equal in height and length and around central nucleus. So that's kind of more like that's a square or a cube, and then you have your nucleus in the middle. It's kind of like a ball being suspended inside of a box. And then your columnar is going to be your height of the cell is more than the width. So this is more of a rectangle or a column. Your nucleus is going to be placed towards the base of the cell. So it's going to be towards the bottom of the cells. Some more epithelial tissues, these are going to be named by the arrangement of the cells. You have your simple one layer of cells. Each cell extends from basement membrane to the free surface. And your pseudostratified, your cells are of different heights. See how they kind of just fit together? It's more like a puzzle piece, and they do not all reach the surface, and your nuclei are at different levels, but all the cells are in contact with the basement. So you see they're all connected at the bottom, but then not at the top. And your stratified is more than one layer. So your epithelial cells may be ciliated. That's going to be the hair-like cilia designed to move the fluid, or they're going to be non-ciliated. These are kind of like little hairs on the outside of them. They regenerate readily and they heal quickly. They are capable of sensation. In surgery, it's generally sutured with absorbable sutures. The only exception would be your skin. And then your cancer of epithelial tissue is a carcinoma. It'll be basal cell or squamous cell. Epithelial makes up membranes. So don't forget that. So mucus lines your passageway leading outside, such as the GI tract, the GU tract, and the respiratory tract. Serous lines closed ventral cavities, includes peritoneum, pericardium, or pleura. They're double-sided membranes made up of a visceral layer and a parietal layer. You can see here in this graphic, it shows you, and at the bottom, you'll see the arrows pointing towards the type of system that they cover. Glandular epithelial. So there's two types of glands. You have your exocrine, which is secretions that travel through a duct to another area. Example, your sweat glands. Or endocrine are ductless glands that secrete hormones into the bloodstream. For example, the thyroid gland. So to differentiate between these two, you want to look at the prefix on the words. Exo would be to the outside when you think of exo. Endo would be like in, so it's within the body. So endocrine is within the body, and your exocrine are going outside the body. You have your connective tissues here for you. So these connective tissues are made to bind, protect, they support. They're most variable and widespread tissue in the body. We'll start off with your adipose or your fat tissue. A lot of times you'll see this in the abdomen. It's going to be connective tissue that has poor blood supply, generally sutured with absorbable materials. Adipose tissue has high possibility for surgical site infection because it's avascular. You have your fibrous, or also known as your fascia. This is going to be dense connective tissue. It composes sheaths, covers joints, muscles, meninges, coverings the brain and spinal cord. You have your synovia, which is going to be the lining of your synovial joints. Scar tissue, tendons, which is going to connect muscle to bone, and your ligaments, which connect bone to bone. You have cartilage. That's an elastic tissue that has little blood supply to it. And then you have your bone, which is going to be, you have two types for your bone. You have cortical, which bone cells arrange in concentric circles around central canals. They make up the shell of the bone to provide strength and support, covered by the periosteum. And then you have your cancellous, which is going to be spongy bone. And you will hear it referred to as spongy bone sometimes. Bone contains spaces with red marrow for making blood cells. And then you also have your reticular bone, and this is net-like, or tissue, I'm sorry, and this is net-like. This is going to be blood and lymph tissues. Your areolar is loose connective tissue that fills spaces and helps to hold your organs in place. The matrix is an intercellular substance within your connective tissue. Let's move on to some muscle tissue. You have skeletal, you have smooth, and you have cardiac. So your skeletal is striated, it's voluntary. An example would be like your biceps brachii. Your smooth is going to be found in your internal organs, such as blood vessels and bladder. They're going to be visceral and involuntary. And then your cardiac, which is going to be found only in the heart. This is going to be striated. It's involuntary. It functions on its own, and it contains intercalcated discs. Your nerve tissue is up next. So your nerve tissue is going to be this is going to be your most highly specialized tissue that you have in the body. It's found in your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves. Your neurons, these are going to be basic units of structure in the nervous system and made up of dendrites, which are cell extensions that receive impulses. The cell body and the axon is an extension of the cell that conducts impulses away from the cell body. Your neuralgia, or these are called Schwann cells. You will hear them referred to Schwann cells a lot. They're non-conductive. They're a covering of your peripheral nerves, which provide nutrition and protection. They make up the myelin sheath of the neurons and give nerves a white, glistening appearance, and they're supporting cells. And they coordinate and integrate your body function. Okay? So that's it for this level of the system organizations. Now we're going to actually get into your organ systems. Let's start off with some organ abnormalities. So you have aplasia, which is going to be a failure of an organ to develop normally. Your hypoplasia is an underdevelopment of an organ. Atrophy is without development. Notice the A in the prefix usually means without. So without development, it's a decrease in size of an organ. Your hypertrophy, notice your hyper prefix, that's overdevelopment and increase in the size of an organ. Hyperplasia is excessive proliferation of cells. Body cells increase in number. Dysplasia is going to be an abnormal development of tissue or an organ. And your anaplasia is loss of cell function. And again, you can use your med term knowledge to break these words down. All right, integumentary system. So go ahead, take a look here at some of your prefixes that you'll see for your integumentary system. You see dermo, dermat, cute, or cutane. Your integumentary system acts as a mechanical barrier to microorganisms, acts as a sensory organ. It's going to regulate your body temperature by evaporation, synthesizes vitamin D, absorption of certain drugs, and your largest organ of the body. You're going to see here your epidermis layers. This is important to pay attention to with the epidermis. Okay, so it's composed of 5 strata layers. This is your outer layer of the skin. It's going to have stratified squamous epithelium for your cells. So it's the 5 strata layers. They regenerate from the bottom strata and forces the cells outward. So this will pack them close together, but this is going to be that you're most, you're deep, and then they move up superficially to the outer layer of your skin where you then shed them. The outer strata is composed of tough keratinized dead cells, which are constantly being shed, contains no nerve endings or blood vessels, provides a protective waterproof covering due to a substance in the skin called keratin, contains your fingerprints, contains melanocytes, which are pigment cells for protection from sunlight, protected by normal body flora, which serve as a natural protection mechanism and regenerates readily. Again, this is all your epidermis. This is all your outer layer of skin. Next, you'll see it here in the picture. It is the smallest. It is where the arrow is pointing towards. That is your epidermis. Next, we're going to get into your dermis. This is considered your true skin. And again, you'll see your arrow pointing at your dermis here. This is made up of dense connective tissue. It contains collagen. Your collagen, what collagen is it's a glue-like fiber. It runs parallel to the skin and are the source of your body lines. When the surgeon makes an incision, he or she attempts to follow body lines that results in a less pronounced scar that's based on your dermis. Your blood vessels are an excellent supply within the dermis. They dilate to bring blood near the surface for cooling and constrict to prevent the loss of heat. And they provide transportation for the cells needed for effective healing. Your sudoriferous sweat glands lie deep in the dermis and send secretions through ducts to the skin for evaporation and cooling. These glands are classified as exocrine glands, like we said before, to the outside of the body. So these are your sudoriferous sweat glands. This layer also contains your sebaceous oil glands, open into your hair follicles and secrete sebum to keep your hair and skin lubricated and provide protection against both bacteria and drying. Sebaceous glands are only present at sites where they are follicles. You have your sensory receptors for pain, cold, heat, touch, and vibration. These are going to be located in the dermis, your sensory receptors. Your arrector pili muscles, they're attached to your hair. So that's what makes your hair stand up or produce, your goosebumps you get when you say you have goosebumps. Next, we'll get into your subcutaneous tissue below the skin. So let's get into that. It looks like my arrow's not exactly in the right spot, so it should be down a little. That's my fault. So this is going to be made up of adipose tissue or fat, which you can see in the picture, the yellow fat at the bottom. It's going to provide insulation and gives the body a rounded appearance. Because of good blood supply, it is surgically closed with an absorbable suture. It provides an area for hypodermic injection of medication intended to be absorbed slowly. And again, this is your subcutaneous tissue below the skin. This is very important to know. When entering the abdominal cavity, the tissue layers are as follows. So you have your skin, right? That's including your subcuticular layer. You have your subcutaneous tissue and your adipose. You have your superficial fascia, and you're going to hit your muscle, deep fascia, and your peritoneum. So it's important to know these in order, the layers of the abdomen. Next, we'll go into your skeletal system. Functions of the skeletal system. So it's going to support its framework. I think that's the most universal thing we always learn, when we're younger about this basic anatomy stuff. This also provides protection, your movement, your storage of minerals, and a big thing is going to be your blood cell formation within the skeletal system. Here's a graphic of your type of bones. You got long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones, and sesamoid bones. You'll see that's your patella for that sesamoid bone, in case you're wondering what bone that actually is. Those are always kind of like your irregular, they're irregular shaped, but they're also like flat, and then you do have actual irregular bones, which include your vertebrae, your hyoid bone, your sphenoid bone, and your facial bones. So you can look through this graphic a little bit. Then we're going to get into the anatomy of a long bone. This is an important thing to learn too with the long bone, especially about the diaphysis and the epiphysis. So let's just go into this. So your anatomy of your bone, let's start with your periosteum. This is a covering of the bone that contains your nerve and blood vessels and provide nourishment for growth and nutrition. This may be lifted up during surgery, separated from the bone. Your epiphysis is going to be the end of a long bone. Okay, you'll see it here in the graphic. Then you have your epiphyseal plate located at the metaphysis. This is a big deal. This is a cartilaginous disc near the end of long bones. It is the area where bone growth takes place until you're about 15 to 17 years old. It may slip out of place and require a fusion. A fracture along the plate may cause the bone to fuse prematurely, resulting in stunted growth along that bone. Again, like I said, that is an important thing to know. Your diaphysis is going to be your shaft of the bone. That's always good to know. You can see your artery, your yellow bone marrow is there. So your cortical bone, which is compact bone, is going to form the hard shell of the bone because of deposits of calcium, phosphorus, and mineral salts. Your cancellous bone or your spongy bone contains your pores and red marrow that makes blood cells. Make sure you know that. Your red marrow makes your blood cells. Articular cartilage. This is going to be your protective layer covering the surfaces of bone where two bones come together to form a joint. Your medullary canal is going to be a cavity that runs through the center of a long bone and is filled with yellow marrow. It's going to be lined with endosteum. Let's get into your types of bones or your types of joints, I guess. You have your pivot joint, you'll see here, your saddle joint, your plane joint, your hinge joint, your condyloid joint, and your ball and socket. So every joint is classified how it moves, its movement. So let's get into a little bit of that. Your synthrosis is going to be immovable joints that are fused, such as sutures in the cranium. Those sutures or like a soft spot at the junction of the bone, mostly going to be in like a fetal skull. Those are called fontanelles. Fontanelles. So that's prior to fusion. These are going to be evident in children under 2 years of age. Amphioarthrosis is going to be cartilage joints that are slightly movable. Your diarthrosis are freely movable joints lined with synovium, which secretes synovial fluid as a lubricant. These are made of tough connective tissue. This is the joints that fall under this are going to be your ball and socket, your shoulder, hip, hinge joint. Your condyloid joint is going to be a rounded surface that fits into a elliptical cavity. A pivot joint is a projection through a ring that provides for rotation. As the cranium on the atlas and the axis, that's considered a pivot joint. A gliding joint are flat surfaces sliding or twisting in various planes as seen in the wrists and ankles. Your saddle joint, saddle-shaped bone fitting into another saddle that provides a variety of movements as found in the thumb. So let's go over to some different some questions for the body. So I kind of showed the answers by accident, but which bone is located in the upper arm? Radius, humerus, ulna, or clavicle. You can look at the picture right here to answer these. What is the name of the bone that forms the forehead? Name the 3 bones that make up the pelvic region shown in the diagram. Which structure is part of the vertebral column? The scapula, sacrum, clavicle, or the sternum? Give you guys a quick second to answer the questions. You may want to pause if it's too quick for you. So your bone located in your upper arm is going to be your humerus. The bone of the forehead is the frontal bone, which you can remember if you know your lobes of the brain. That's where your frontal lobe is. It's to the front. That's another way to remember. The 3 bones of the pelvic region, you have your ilium, ischium, and the pubis. I always just kind of try to memorize those 3 together. Ish, pube. And then that usually works for me. Which structure is part of the vertebral column? And then your choice is your sacrum was going to be your only one. So we're going to take a look at the ears, and let's go through a few questions about the ear. Which structure is responsible for collecting sound waves from the environment? You have your cochlea, your auricle, your semicircular canals, or your stapes. What is the name of the membrane that vibrates when sound waves enter the ear? Your oval window, your round window, your tympanic membrane, and your cochlea. Name the three ossicles. They're going to be small bones found in the middle ear. Which structure is primarily responsible for hearing or converting sound into nerve signals? Your semicircular canals, your cochlea, your auditory tube, or your incus? I'll give you guys a second. So collecting sound is going to be your auricle, your membrane that vibrates when sound enters, tympanic. You can kind of try to remember it by tempo, tympanic. That's what I do. Your three auditory ossicles is your malleus, incus, and stapes. Again, just got to kind of remember that three grouping together. And then which structure is primarily responsible for hearing? That's going to be your cochlea. That's the big snail-like structure you see here. All right, let's go over some bones of the skull questions for you. Just go ahead and use the graphic as reference. Which bone forms the forehead? We just went over this. Your parietal bone, your frontal, your temporal, your occipital. Which bone is located at the back of the skull? Your frontal, your sphenoid, your occipital, or your ethmoid bones? Which structure is an opening that allows passage of nerves and blood vessels? Your zygomatic arch, mandible, mental foramen, or your maxilla? This is one you guys need to remember. What is the name of the immovable joints that connect the bones of the skull? And again, we just went over this. So your forehead's going to be your frontal lobe. Which bone is located at the back of the skull? Your occipital bone. Which structure is an opening that allows passage of nerves and blood vessels? That's going to be your mental foramen. What is the name of the immovable joints that connect the bones of the skull? That's going to be your sutures, your coronial, and your lambodial. All right, let's take a look at your vertebral column. Let's do a couple of interactive questions for this too. Which vertebra is known as the atlas? C1. Which region of the spine contains 12 vertebra? Which structure is formed by the fusion of 5 vertebrae? Name the 4 curvatures of the vertebral column shown in the diagram. All right, so your atlas is going to be your first cervical vertebrae. You should have gotten that by the C1 reference in the question. Which region of the spine contains 12 vertebrae? That's going to be your thoracic region. And which structure is formed by the fusion of the 5? That's your sacrum. And name the 4 curvatures of the vertebral column shown in the diagram. You have cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacral. These are a few important terms that you have for your skeletal system. Your bursa is a fluid-filled synovial membrane sac that reduces friction and cushions, tendons where they cross bones. Your callus is going to be a bony collar that forms around a fracture site and is replaced by bone during the healing process. And your Haversian system, which is a system of canals and matrix rings found in compact bone that allows blood vessels and nerves to be carried to all areas of the bone. Can anyone tell me the difference between a ligament and a tendon? I'll show the answer on the next slide. You have tendons, which is muscle to bone, or you have your ligament, which is going to be bone to bone. Let's look at osteoblast versus osteoclast versus your osteocyte. This is a great graphic for you with that. So your osteoblast is going to be your bone building cell. Your osteoclast is going to be a bone destroying cell. Helps to shape the bone. And your osteocyte is going to be your mature bone cell. Let's go into our overview of the muscular system now. Here's just a little anatomy graphic for you. If you want to pause the video, you can take a look at that. Naming of muscles. So muscles can be named many different ways. They can be named by shapes, sizes, point of attachment, location, action, the direction of the muscle fibers, or the number of origins. And here's some examples for you. So let's get into the function of the muscles or how they function. You have a prime mover, you have an antagonist, and you have a synergist. These are important terms to remember because your antagonist and your synergist, they all have to work together for muscle movement. So this is an example showing you your biceps. So your prime mover is your agonist, and that's going to be your bicep muscle you see here. And then your synergist is your brachialis muscle. And then your antagonist is going to be your tricep muscle. So that's the resistance that you need to move. And your fixator is the muscle that holds the scapula firmly in place, such as the rhomboideus. So that's how you see that with that movement. So your antagonist is going to be the main muscle responsible for moving. Your antagonist is opposite action as your agonist, and your synergist is assist in moving with the part. So your muscles of your abdominal wall here, you'll see this is very important to remember. Your layers of your abdominal wall are something that you're going to go through a lot, and it may be on your CST exam. So you have your rectus abdominis muscle, and then you have your external oblique muscle, your internal oblique muscle, and your transverse abdominis muscle. Your rectus abdominis is paired. It's going to be strap-like. It's superficial muscles. It extends your rib cage to the pubis. Your external oblique is also paired. These are more slanted, superficial muscles, lateral wall. Your internal oblique is paired, slanted muscles. Your transverse abdominis is your deepest muscles of the abdominal wall. All right, let's get into your nervous system now. This is a little anatomy diagram for you of that. Your structures of your neuron, you'll see you have your cell body, your dendrites, and your axon. Your axon contains your myelin sheath. This is an important thing to know. This is going to be a white fatty material that does provide insulation. So don't forget what the myelin sheath is. let's go to the next. You have your types of neurons. You have your motor, your sensory, and your inner neurons. So your motors are going to carry messages away from the central nervous system to the viscera, muscles, or glands. Your sensory carries muscles to the central nervous system from sensory receptors. And then your inner neurons are going to carry impulses within the central nervous system. So inter is going to help you to remember inner, within the CNS. As far as your motor, so a motor is going to be something that you are sending a signal to. You know, it's like when you start your car, you send the signal, you turn the key, it starts the motor, right? So that's what you have here. You're going to send the signal out to the rest of the body, right? So it carries it away from the central nervous system. Your sensory is something you're going to collect from the outside, right? You have to feel it, whatever it is, smell it, taste it. So that's from the outside, and that's going to go inside. Which two electrolytes are essential for proper nerve impulse transmission? These are two important electrolytes to know. Your potassium and your sodium. So both a deficiency and excess will affect your nervous system. Okay, don't forget that. Two important electrolytes, your potassium and your sodium. Your central nervous system, here's a good graphic for you. It's going to be made up of gray matter and white matter. Brain gray matter is in the cortex or the outer layer. Your spinal cord gray matter surrounds the canal. So let's start off with your meninges, your different layers of your meninges. You have your dura mater. This is going to be a tough outer covering. Epidermal hematomas are bruises to the brain above the dura, and subdural hematomas occur underneath the dura. It's important to differentiate the two during procedures to evacuate a hematoma. Your arachnoid is going to be your middle layer, or your right, and then your pia mater is going to be your inner layer. This is considered the subarachnoid space, right in between them, the two of them, your arachnoid and your pia mater, and that's going to be filled with CSF, or your cerebrospinal fluid. Another important thing to learn for the CST exam is going to be your ventricles. These are major structures that produce what colorless fluid that provides protection cushion for the brain. So your ventricles are the place where your cerebral spinal fluid is going to be produced. This is very important to know. Your cerebral spinal fluid provides a protective cushion for the brain. It's constantly being produced in the choroid plexus of the ventricles, which you'll see right here on this graphic. And then it circulates around the brain and the spinal cord, and is absorbed from the arachnoid villi into the venous circulation. So any obstruction with your flow of your CSF will result in increased intracranial pressure and actually cause severe pain. It can be surgically drained with a shunt. They can also insert a shunt that you keep in. A lot of times that the ventricle is going to be between the ventricle, the peritoneum VP shunt, or the right atrium of the heart is a VA shunt. If this obstruction occurs in a newborn prior to fusion of the skull bones, the resulting hydrocephalus will cause the head to enlarge. And then some more notes on your ventricles. It's 4 cavities inside the brain. These are major structures in the brain. So there are 2 lateral ventricles and the 3rd and 4th ventricles. The 3rd ventricle is of particular importance as it separates the right and left thalamus and is positioned above the hypothalamus. Okay. So let's get into the divisions of the brain. You have your cerebrum. This is going to be the largest part of your brain, and it occupies the upper part of the cranium. It's separated into two hemispheres, and down the middle of those two hemispheres are going to be your corpus callosum. It's important to remember, and it's going to control your body movement, your reasoning, your memory, and your emotions. So then the cerebrum is divided into four lobes. Like I was saying earlier, you have your frontal lobe, you have your parietal lobe, your temporal lobe, and your occipital lobe. And then the longitudinal fissure or your deep groove that's separating them. So your frontal is motor and speech. Your parietal is sensory. Your temporal is going to be auditory and olfactory. And your occipital is going to be visual. You also have your cortex, which is going to be the outer surface of this cerebrum and made up of gray matter. Your corpus callosum is that connecting link between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. Then you have your cerebellum, which is known as your little brain. You'll see that in the picture on the very back bottom, just below the occipital and the occipital lobe next to the brain stem. This is going to be separated from the cerebrum with a deep fissure. It controls your muscle tone, your coordination, and your equilibrium. And then you have your brain stem, which is going to connect the spinal cord with the cerebrum and the cerebellum. Your medulla oblongata, that's a vital center that controls your respiration, your heartbeat, and your blood pressure. And then you have your midbrain and your pons. So this is going to contain your reflex centers and connect with other parts of the brain. In addition, you have your diencephalon, which is composed of your hypothalamus and your thalamus. So your hypothalamus is going to be the control center for your your homeostasis, your hunger, thirst, deep sleep, body temperature, water balance, and the pituitary gland. And your thalamus is going to be your central relay center. You can see that in the picture. It's towards the middle but bottom, and then let's move into your spinal cord. So your spinal cord is about 16 to 18 inches long. It's going to extend from your brainstem to the level of your first lumbar vertebrae. It's going to be protected by the vertebral column. It ends with an extension of nerves. That's called your cauda equina. So that's down at the bottom. They're going to be fused together. You have 31 pairs of nerves that branch off from the spinal cord, one pair for each intervertebral space. Your plexus, which is a group of spinal nerves joined together, which gives off branches. It's your cervical, your C1 to C4. Brachial is your C5 to T1, and your lumbosacral, which is going to be your T12 to your S5. You have a sciatic nerve. Everyone kind of as you get older, your sciatic nerve starts to hurt sometimes. It'll go all the way down into your leg. That is your largest nerve in the body. That is formed from your lumbosacral nerves and extends down your leg. The function of your spinal cord is going to be to carry information to and from the brain and body parts not served by your cranial nerves. We are going to get into your cranial nerves. It is very important aspect to remember for the CST exam. So your peripheral nervous system, this is going to be made up of your spinal nerves, your 31 pairs, your cranial nerves, which is 12 pairs, and your ganglia, which is your nerve cell bodies in your PNS. So here's a little graphic for you about that. And then let's get into something that's very important, your cranial nerves. So you're going to want to review this, go over this chart, find a chart that you can review. But the best thing you can do is remember your cranial nerves with a mnemonic. So here's one that I actually use, OOO, to touch and feel very good velvet. This is a mnemonic you'll see all over the place for your cranial nerves. Again, you will need to sit and go through these cranial nerves. You need to learn them, their numbers, paired with their name is the biggest thing. And then their function is obviously going to be a big deal for you. There's all different types of ways to remember this. You just have to find the way that works for you. There's some great ways to remember it though. Your autonomic nervous system. So this controls your automatic functions to keep the body in homeostasis. It innervates all your smooth muscles, heart muscles, and your glands. You can see here you have your parasympathetic and your sympathetic. Your sympathetic nerves arise from the thoracolumbar area of the spinal cord and function with epinephrine to prepare for fight or flight. The release of epinephrine increases during stress, danger, emotional crisis, or strenuous exercise. Your parasympathetic nerves arise from your cranial nerves and fibers from the sacral area. They work with their vagus nerve to slow down your body functions, and they'll take over when you're sleeping. All right, so the autonomic nervous system. Let's see. This is going to control your automatic functions to keep the body in homeostasis. I'm sorry, I think I already went over this. Edit. All right, let's go through some special senses for you. This is just getting into your sensory stuff. We're going to start off with your eye anatomy. So this is an excellent picture of your eye anatomy here that you'll want to look over. You can pause, but I'm going to go over some stuff while it's up on the screen for you. So you obviously you can't see here, but your eyelid you have, which is your med term for that is going to be blepharon. That's going to cover the globe of the eyeball. It's going to be controlled by your orbicularis oculi. And then it's lined with a mucous membrane that reflects back to cover the front of the globe, except the cornea. Any inflammation in that mucus is going to be your what you consider pink eye. The eyelid blink reflex is designed for protection of the anterior portion of the eye. So the anterior is going to mean front, right? Because it's anterior. Your eyelashes serve as protection from dust and debris. You also have your glands, your meibomian glands, which are modified sebaceous glands associated with the eyelid edges and produce an oily secretion that lubricates your eye. And then you have your orbital cavity, which is going to be your protective bony socket. It's going to be composed of 7 cranial and facial bones in which most of the globe rests. Your extrinsic eye muscles, so you have 6 pairs of those, and those are going to be controlled by your cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6. So they hold your globe in place and they provide for movement. Your lacrimal apparatus or your tear apparatus, this is going to consist of a lacrimal gland situated on the superior lateral aspect of the eyelids or your conjunctiva. Your tears are discharged into the lacrimal sac, which in med terms is going to be dacryocyst on the medial aspect of the eye. As far as your actual eye, so let's start with your sclera, which is going to be your outer layer. This is going to be a white fibrous protective covering. The front portion of it is considered the cornea. This is transparent. It bends to refract light rays and serves as the window of the eye. Your choroid is going to be your middle layer. This is going to be a thin pigmented vascular coat of the eye, which is going to absorb stray light for you. This includes your ciliary body, which is your ring-shaped structure inside the globe, which contains suspensory ligaments attached to the lens. It is innervated by the cranial nerve number 3. That's your oculomotor nerve. You have your iris. This is going to be your pigmented membrane between the cornea and the lens, which controls the amount of light entering the eye by controlling the pupil size. Again, your iris is going to control that pupil size. Your lens is going to be your oval-shaped, solid but flexible, transparent structure held in place by your suspensory ligaments. This is attached to the ciliary body. You have your anterior cavity. You can see it here in the picture that contains your aqueous humor. It is the space between the iris and the cornea. And the posterior chamber is your space between the iris and the suspensory ligaments and your lens. Your posterior cavity, it contains vitreous humor, which is going to be your jelly-like substance, which keeps the retina in close contact with the choroid. It's going to bend your light rays and helps maintain the shape of the globe. A little bit about the aqueous humor that you see inside your anterior cavity. So this is a watery fluid. It's produced by the ciliary body. It empties into your posterior chamber, passes through the pupil into the anterior chamber, and then passes into a small venous sinus. This is called the canal of Schlem into the venous circulation. So your retina is your inner layer. It contains your rods, which are for your black and white vision, and your cones, which are for your color vision. So your rods and cones are distributed over the entire retina, except where the optic nerve leaves the eye. Okay, so that's a blind spot for you. Okay, so that's going to cover your eye for you. You can use this to look over for the different things. Definitely pay attention to your cranial nerves that you see in this graphic. Next, we're going to get into some ear anatomy. We'll start with your external ear. So you have your auricle. It's an expanded portion on the side of the head. It's going to be composed of cartilage and covered with skin. The folds are for collecting sound waves and directing them inward. Your external auditory canal is going to be lined with a mucous membrane. It has fine hairs, and it has your wax glands for protection. These are called your ceruminous glands. This is for producing your wax. Then you're going to see your tympanic membrane, which we went over earlier when we were going over some of your other systems. This is going to be the eardrum is going to separate the external ear from the middle ear and vibrates when struck by sound waves. That's going to be your tympanic membrane. That is your separation from your external and your middle. Your middle ear is going to be an air-filled cavity. If you think of a drum, your tympanic membrane is going to be that top of the drum. Your middle ear is going to be the inside of the drum, and it's going to contain your eustachian or your auditory tube. Connects your middle ear with your nasopharynx. It equalizes air pressure on both sides of the eardrum. And then you have your auditory ossicles. Those are going to be those 3 small bones we talked about earlier, your malleus, your incus, and your stapes. So these are going to amplify and conduct sound waves from the eardrum to the oval window. Your mastoid sinus is connected to the posterior wall of the middle ear, and it contains your air cells. Okay, again, all of this is going to be in the graphic for you. Your inner ear is going to be the further in. You're going to see this is where your sound is actually going to be interpreted, I guess, in a way, or the pitch and everything after the tympanic membrane. So this has your osseous labyrinth, which is going to be a series of fluid-filled canals. Contains organs for hearing and equilibrium located in the temporal bone. You have your vestibule, which is your space between the cochlea and the semicircular canals. You'll see your semicircular canals. There's going to be 3 of them are going to be at right angles to one another. They contain receptors for equilibrium. Your cochlea is going to be your snail-shaped bony structure containing receptor cells for hearing. Your vestibulocochlear nerve is going to be your cranial nerve number 7. Number 8. It has 2 branches. It carries impulses from the cochlea to the temporal lobe. Okay, that's for hearing. You have your other senses, your olfactory, your gustatory, your somatic, and your proprioceptors, which is going to be all smell, taste in your body. Let's get into your endocrine system. This is going to be a group of ductless glands scattered throughout the body that secrete hormones directly into the circulatory system. So you need to remember that your endocrine system is simply releasing these hormones. Your circulatory system is what is going to carry them around the body. Each gland has specific functions and works with the nervous system to integrate and coordinate your body functions. You have your pituitary gland is included in your endocrine system. It's going to be located in a depression of the sphenoid bone called the master gland. You have your anterior pituitary gland. Your thyroid stimulating hormone is produced. Your adrenocorticotropic hormone is produced. Your growth hormone. You have your posterior pituitary. Your pineal gland, which is going to be in your brain, it's going to secrete the melatonin, which is involved in establishing your circadian rhythm. That's going to be your day and night. That's your pineal gland. Your thymus gland is located in the mediastinum. It's your largest. During childhood, it secretes thymosin, which regulates the development and function of the immune system. Here you're going to see your thyroid gland. What hormone is needed to store calcium in bones and teeth? Oh, sorry about that. So your thyroid gland, your thyroxine hormone is going to control your cellular metabolism, which requires iodine for synthesis. And your calcitonin is a hormone needed to store calcium in bone and teeth. Calcitonin, remember that. You have your parathyroid glands. That's going to be your 4 very small glands embedded on the posterior surface of the thyroid gland. They produce parathormone or parathyroid hormone. Okay, you have your adrenal glands. Those are located on the top of your kidneys. These have 2 divisions. So you have your adrenal medulla. We're going to see these more when we go into the GU system in just a little bit. You'll see the adrenal glands. So they secrete your epinephrine and your norepinephrine, which work with the sympathetic nervous system to prepare for fight or flight. Your adrenal cortex is the outer portion of your adrenal glands. Okay, they're going to secrete sex hormones and steroid hormones. They protect during stress by regulating fluid and electrolyte balance and by converting stored energy to a usable form, and they influence sexual development. Again, your pancreas is on here for your endocrine, your testes, and your ovaries. We're going to get to that a little bit further along in this discussion. Your digestive system, this is going to be made up of your alimentary canal or your gastrointestinal tract. I'm going to go over it sort of in order for you, each portion of it. So let's get started. We'll start off with your mouth. So your mouth is lined with a vascular mucous membrane, begins digestion. You have your tongue, your salivary glands, and your teeth all located. So that's going to be your tongue is skeletal muscle attached anteriorly to the floor of the mouth by the frenulum and posterior to the hyoid bone. Okay, it's covered by a mucous membrane, and remember, your tongue is going to be innervated by your hypoglossal cranial nerve, which is your cranial nerve number 7. And then you have your glossopharyngeal nerve. That is going to be your cranial nerve number 9. Okay, again, you need to review these cranial nerves. They are important. You have your salivary glands. There are 3 pairs of exocrine glands. So notice how it's exocrine. It's going from inside the body to outside of the body. Even though it's going into the mouth, it is considered outside of the body into the mouth. Okay? Your pharynx, you have your nasopharynx. That's going to be above the soft palate. Connects with your nares and contains adenoids and opening of the eustachian tubes. Okay, it's important to learn these 3 divisions of your pharynx. You have your oropharynx from the soft palate to the hyoid bone. It's going to contain your palatine tonsils. Your laryngopharynx from the hyoid bone to the larynx. Another important aspect to learn is going to be your walls of your GI tract. You need to learn these 4 layers, okay? This is going to extend from the esophagus to your colon. You have your mucus, mucosa, which is going to be your inner. It secretes mucus. Your submucosa contains blood vessels, nerve endings, and lymph vessels. You have your muscularis externa, contains smooth muscles that contract to propel food, and your serosa, which is your outer level layer. It's going to secrete fluid. Okay, so make sure you take a look at these, learn them in their order, and learn their functions. Okay, so what are a series of involuntary wave-like muscle contractions that move food, fluids, and waste through the digestive tract? I haven't reviewed it. We're using the question as a review. So does anyone know what this is? And then what layer of the GI tract wall does this actually occur in? So it's called peristalsis, those wave-like movements, I'm sorry, and your muscularis externa is where that happens. So let's go back a little bit. So your muscularis externa contains your smooth muscles, and it does say that it contracts to propel food. Your stomach is going to be a muscular elastic pouch. It's located in the epigastrium. Its divisions are going to be your fundus, your body, and your pylorus. So you see here, your fundus is at the top. You have your body, and then your pylorus is going to be towards the bottom of the stomach, headed towards your pyloric sphincter. It does have multiple sphincters. You have circular muscles at the entrance. That's your cardiac sphincter. And you have your exit, which is your pyloric sphincter, which is going to send everything into the duodenum for you. Your the contents of your stomach is considered to be called chyme. Chyme. That is chyme. Okay. Your stomach is lined with a mucous membrane containing gastric glands that secrete mucin. It protects your stomach lining. You have your hydrochloric acid, which is going to stimulate the production of pepsin, which breaks down connective tissue in meats and kills bacteria. And you have your enzymes. So that's your pepsin, which breaks down protein, and lipase, which works on fat. So, and your stomach contains rouge, it's pronounced different ways. I've heard folds, and these folds allow for that expansion in your stomach. Let's go into your small intestine. I always remember this by DJ Ill. So duodenum, jejunum, and your ileum. Your duodenum is major organs of digestion, receives bile from the gallbladder at the ampulla vater for emulsification of fats, and digestive juice with enzymes from your pancreas. That's going to be lipase, amylase, and trypsin for you. Okay. Your jejunum, it's gonna begin at your ligament of Treitz, designed for your absorption of your food. And your ileum is designed for continued absorption of food, the end of products of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, your amino acids, fatty acids, and your glycerols. So again, you can remember this with DJ Ill. So duodenum, jejunum, and your ileum. And they contain villi. These are going to be finger-like structures. They're sort of like hair too, but not quite as thin. They're projecting from the mucosa of the intestinal tract through which food products are absorbed. Amino acid and glucose are absorbed into the portal circulation and taken to the liver. Your fats are absorbed through the lacteals in the villi into the lymphatic circulation, and your lymph with fats is known as your chyle. Okay? CHYLE. Your large intestines, so it's going to be, your large intestine is going to be 5 to 6 feet long. It's about 2.5 inches in diameter. It consists of your cecum. This is going to be in order. So your cecum, your ascending colon, obviously the chyme is traveling upward, so that's going to be ascending. Your transverse colon, which goes across, everything is traveling across. Trans means across. Your descending colon, everything is going down. So descending means down. You have your sigmoid colon, and then you have your rectum, your anal canal, and your sphincter. Okay? Some accessory organs to your digestive tract is going to be your pancreas. This is where this manufactures pancreatic juice for digestion. Most people know for insulin for your carb metabolism. I think that's the number one thing people know your pancreas for is going to be that insulin production. You have your liver, which is going to be the largest gland in the body. And then you have your bile channel, which is a right and left hepatic ducts from each lobe that join to form the common hepatic duct. The best thing you guys can do is make sure to review your biliary tract. That's a very big deal. You see it here. It's actually in this picture. You can see your biliary tract on the left side. Okay. Let's get into your blood. This is going to be, you'll see the composition of blood. Your first slide is going to be blood composition. This is something to know. You're going to need to know lab values and blood composition. Okay, so plasma is going to be 55% of your blood. Okay, your plasma is your proteins. It contains your waste, your electrolytes, nutrients, and your hormones. You have your erythrocytes, which are your red blood cells. These are going to be made in your red bone marrow. Do not forget that with iron. They contain hemoglobin. Okay. Again, you're going to want to look up these, your lab values. They should be within your text. Your formed elements of your blood, you're going to have your leukocytes, your neutrophils, your eosinophils, your basophils, your lymphocytes, your monocytes, your thrombocytes. Okay, these are all within your blood. Your leukocytes, you have a normal range of 5,000 to 10,000. These are for infection. Leukocytes, these are white blood cells. They're for infection. Neutrophils, these are made in your bone marrow and are phagocytic. Okay, they engulf your microbes. Okay, make sure you guys go through this. The function of your blood is going to be your transportation of nutrients and oxygen to cells and waste away from cells. It's also to combat infection because your leukocytes, and it also controls your body temperature. Okay. Blood clotting is a major thing, obviously, so you don't bleed out. Injured thrombocytes will release your serotonin. They cause your blood vessels to spasm and narrow. Your injured tissues release thromboplastin, which combines with prothrombin in the presence of calcium to form thrombin. Thrombin combines with fibrinogen to form fibrin, basis of a clot. Your blood types. Here we go, a little graphic for you. You've got your type A, which is A antigen, and anti-B antibodies, okay? It's important to learn what your antibodies are and your antigens are for your blood types. I'll go over them here for you. Your type B is going to be a B antigen and an anti-A antibody, okay? Your type AB is both A and B antigens and no antibodies. Your type O is absence of antigens and both anti-A and anti-B antibodies, universal donor. Okay, you have your RH factor. Your RH factor antigen is found in about 85 to 90% of the population. Okay, problem may be created in an RH negative mother with an RH positive fetus. There is a shot for that you can get. They'll give you Rogam. It'll be around the 28th week of your pregnancy. Okay. With that being said about blood, let's go into the circulatory system. The circulatory system is complex. So there's different parts to it. A lot of people will include, your full circulatory system, plus your heart is all included. So let's start off with your layers of your heart wall. That's important. You have your endocardium. That's going to be inside. It also is lined with endothelial lining. Okay, endocardium. Okay, your myocardium is a thick muscular layer composed of cardiac muscle. Do not forget, myo means muscle in med term. Okay, so that is going to be your thick muscular layer, your myocardium. Your epicardium is going to be your visceral layer of your pericardium, which is a double sac of serous membrane which secretes a fluid to provide lubrication. Okay, epi means around. Okay, cardi, heart. So your epicardium. Okay, you got to learn these med terms and your meanings to break down words. It's very, very helpful. Okay. Let's go into the heart anatomy, the chambers of your heart. We have your right atrium. This is going to be the upper chamber that receives deoxygenated blood. Remember, right is deoxygenated, okay? Left oxygenated. So deoxygenated venous blood from your superior and inferior vena cava, that is going to be into your right atrium. Okay, your right ventricle is the lower chamber that's going to pump that deoxygenated blood to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. Okay, remember, your deoxygenated blood needs to be oxygenated before going to the rest of the body. There's no point in going to the rest of the body without oxygen. Okay, it's not useful to human beings. So you need to remember your deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle is going to go directly to your lungs through the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary, right? Meaning lungs. Okay. Your left atrium is your upper chamber. This is going to receive oxygenated blood from the lungs via the pulmonary veins. Okay. So this is going to come back to the heart, and then the heart is going to send it back out into the body because now it's oxygenated. Now it's useful for the muscles in the body, right? So first it's going to go to your left ventricle. That's going to be that lower chamber that is then going to pump that blood into your systemic circulation. It's going to go to all parts of the body from that aorta. You see the aorta here in the picture. You see the curve of it. After that curve and it starts heading down, it's going to head all the way down your abdomen, right? And where it's going to bifurcate into your legs. So remember that your aorta is not just that curve. It is the entire flow of the blood down through the abdomen, split into your legs. Okay. So oxygenated left, deoxygenated right. The right is going to send to the lungs. It is always going to stop back into the heart once it's oxygenated. Once sent out into the body, it will always go back through the heart to be sent to the lungs, deoxygenated by the right side of the body. Okay. So your valves direct the flow of the blood in the heart. So your valves are very important. You can get implants for your valves. They're usually going to be pigs. So your tricuspid is between your right atrium and your right ventricle. Okay. Your bicuspid, also known as your mitral, is going to be between the left atrium and left ventricle. Okay, tricuspid, right, deoxygenated. Bicuspid, left, oxygenated. Your two semilunar valves, you have your pulmonary, that's going to be at the opening of the pulmonary artery, and your aortic at the opening of the aorta. Okay, so pulmonary artery is from the right side, your pulmonary valve is on the right side, your aortic is on your left side along with your aorta. So just remember that. Okay, your blood supply for your heart, for your actual heart, is your coronary arteries. That's where it's receiving its blood. That's actually on the outside of the heart, okay? It's not the blood flowing through the heart. The blood flowing through the heart is for the rest of your body. The blood for the heart to provide nutrients for your heart is going to be those coronary arteries on the outside of the body, okay? Here is a graphic for you of those coronary arteries. Your right coronary artery and its branches, those are going to be posterior, so to the back. They're going to supply your right atrium, your right ventricle, and your left ventricle. You have your left coronary artery and its branches is going to supply for the left atrium, left ventricle, and the right ventricle. You have your venous blood, which is drained by your cardiac veins and returns through the coronary sinus to the right atrium. Okay? So just remember that. Let's get into the nerve supply. This is important to know. Your electrical conduction pathway, your PQRST. So here you have it. It's both, you're going to have both your sympathetic and parasympathetic. So your pacemaker is considered your SA node. This is going to initiate your heartbeat, located in the right atrium. Okay, your atrioventricular node, this is located at the junction of the atria and the ventricles. It's going to be your AV node. Next, it's going to go to your bundle of His, okay, and then your left and right bundle branches. Then you'll see in the graphic, you see your Purkinje fibers. They are going up kind of the sides of the heart, those muscles right there. That's to give that contraction within the ventricles. So it's found within the myocardium. And the reason it's in the myocardium is because it has to be in the muscle to give that pulse, to make it contract, to stimulate it. So a very important note, potassium, calcium, and sodium are essential electrolytes in regulating muscular activity. We did talk about that during the muscular system, okay? So here it is again with the heart. The function of the heart is a double pump separated by a muscle wall, okay? So the double pump you're talking about, your right heart receives and sends blood for oxygen, your left sends oxygenated blood to other parts, okay? Your three types of your blood vessels, you have your arteries. Your arteries are going to carry blood away from the heart. They're carrying oxygenated blood, okay? Your veins carry blood toward the heart. They carry deoxygenated blood, okay? They have thinner, less elastic walls. Your capillaries are going to be your smallest vessels. They connect arterioles to venules. They carry blood to cells. They have one thick cell membrane to allow for movement of nutrients and oxygen into the cells and waste products. Okay, carbon dioxide, they're going to take that carbon dioxide out of the cells. Here you have a graphic of your major vessels. You're going to see the ascending aorta that I was saying going down through the abdomen, bifurcating into the legs, okay? You also see up at the arc of it that it has the two arteries heading into your arms. Obviously, you need to keep your extremities oxygenated. That is why your arteries are large. They are getting that oxygenated blood into your extremities through all of these different divisions, okay? You also have your arteries going into the brain, also needs oxygen. So those are going to be your carotids that are headed up into your brain. Okay, and then you'll see your veins, which are going to bring deoxygenated blood back. Okay, it's important to look over these major vessels here. All right, let's get into your respiratory system. So your respiratory system is going to provide your oxygen. It produces sounds, muscles of your respiration to assist with compression for urination, defecation, childbirth, coughing, and sneezing. And here you see in the graphic your lungs and your diaphragm. You'll see here the breakdown of your bronchioles down to your alveoli. Okay. You have your paranasal sinuses. You'll see here you have your maxillary, which is going to be your largest. This is going to be located in your cheekbone. A lot of times this is your sinus headaches, okay? Your frontal, which is located behind your eyebrows, again, by your frontal lobe of your brain. These things go together. Your ethmoid is located behind the eyes and the nose. Your sphenoid is located at the base of the cranial cavity. Okay, so these are going to be your facial sinuses. Here you can see them from the side. Your sphenoid is very deep in there, back behind your other cavities. Okay. Your pharynx is going to be your nasal cavity, your tongue, and your larynx. Okay, so your nasopharynx is going to be between the nose and the throat, and it houses your adenoids. Okay, that's for your TNAs. Your eustachian tube connects to your middle ear. That's going to be within your nasopharynx. Your oropharynx is at the mouth. This is going to be your passageway for food and air. It houses the palatine tonsils at the end of the soft palate and the lingual tonsils at the base of the tongue to the back. Okay, for your TNAs. Here's going to be a graphic of your larynx. So your larynx is going to contain your epiglottis. You can see it at the top. This is a cartilage lid that covers the glottis, which is your opening between your vocal cords during swallowing. Your thyroid cartilage you see here kind of in the middle, that's considered your Adam's apple. That's going to be your largest cartilage. Cartilage. I'm getting my words mixed together here. Shaped like a signet ring, and it lies superior and posterior to the thyroid gland. Okay. Your cricoid cartilage, you're going to see here right in the middle, okay? That is the first ring of the trachea. It encircles the trachea completely. Pressure on your cricoid cartilage can close off the esophagus, which is just behind it. And cricoid pressure may be used to prevent regurgitation of contents from the stomach into the lungs of an unconscious patient. This is going to be the Selleck's maneuver, okay? Here is your lung anatomy, your trachea, known as your windpipe. You'll see that here in the picture. It's going to be your air passage from your larynx to the level of your bifurcation to the left and right main bronchi, okay? It's kept open by C-shaped cartilage rings. It's lined with a ciliated mucous membrane that traps particles and sweeps them up to the larynx to be coughed up, okay? Your bronchi, also for med term, that's your bronch. These are two air passages between the trachea and the bronchioles. They kept open by your cartilage rings, same as you see for your trachea. And then it's going to go ahead and keep reducing in size all the way down to your bronchioles and your alveoli, which are going to be small air-like balloons that are going to aid in the exchange of your oxygen. Okay, this is gas exchange for you. They can withstand a lot of pressure from sneezing, anything like that. They have full expansion. Okay. We're going to go into the urinary system now. I've got your urinary anatomy here for you. The function of your urinary system is to extract your waste products from the blood and excrete them through the kidneys. This is a graphic here. You'll see it consists of 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 bladder, and 1 urethra. Okay, let's go into your kidney anatomy. It's something you should know, especially your renal cortex. So these are paired bean-shaped organs. They're about the size of your fist. They lie on either side of the vertebral column next to the posterior abdominal wall in the retroperitoneal space, okay? So that's at the level of the 12th thoracic vertebrae. And the left kidney is several centimeters higher than your right kidney, okay? Your blood supply, your renal arteries arise from the abdominal aorta. So again, that's your aorta going down, supplying all of that oxygenated blood. It branches off to your kidneys, okay? Your Gerota's fascia is important to remember. That is going to be the capsule around your kidney. It's a tough membrane. It covers and protects that kidney. Your cortex is the outer portion of the kidney, which houses your nephrons. You'll see that here at the top, first term there, that cortex. Your medulla, just beneath the cortex, it's going to contain the loops of Henle. So you need to know this, okay? These are going to be it also houses your renal pyramids, your tubes that empty your urine into your pelvis, known as your calyces. And your renal pelvis is your funnel-shaped area in the kidney, which receives your urine through branches called calyces before it passes into the ureter. So you want to pay attention to your renal pelvis. You can see it right here. It's a fifth term down on here for you. You can see it labeled. Okay, you want to know its function. The hilum, or the kidney pedicle, is the notch through which vessels, nerves, and ureters enter or leave the kidney. Okay? Let's look at your nephrons, okay? Your nephrons is going to be this picture on the right. You have your glomerulus. These are going to be networks of blood capillaries that's going to bring blood to the nephron nestled in your Bowman's capsule, okay? You see that at the top, Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule is going to be a cup-shaped depression with semi-permeable membrane. It receives water and waste products from the body. It receives them through filtration, osmosis, and diffusion. Okay? Proximal convoluted or twisted, you have your tubules. These are designed for selective reabsorption of nutrients and some electrolytes. Not all, but some. Your loop of Henle, sodium is extruded and water is reabsorbed, okay? So remember that. See that down here? It's this whole U-turn, your loop of Henle. Distal convoluted tubule is tubular excretion. Your collecting duct is going to be reabsorption of water, okay? And it's going to empty it into those calyces we're talking about. Let's go into your urine composition. Your normal composition of urine is going to be 95% water, 5% organic waste. These organic wastes are going to include urea, creatinine, ammonia, and uric acid. You're also going to have some ions in there, which are going to have sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, your chloride, sulfates, and your phosphates. This is regulated by hormones, aldosterone and antidiuretic, okay? The color is going to should be the color of like straw. Sometimes it'll be yellow. Your pH balance, a normal pH balance of your urine is going to be 6.0, okay? Let's go into your ureters and your bladder. So your ureters are fibromuscular tubes. They're going to propel your urine from your kidney pelvis to the urinary bladder. They run retroperitoneal to the posterior floor of the bladder. They're about 27 centimeters long, okay? Your urinary bladder is a collapsible muscle pouch that serves as a reservoir for urine, okay? So it contains about 750 to 800 milliliters of fluid, with urge to void is going to be at around 250 to 300. Okay, so when you feel like you've got to pee, you're at about 250 to 300. Okay, and it does contain the same rugae as the stomach for your expansion. You also have your trigone area. You'll see here in your second graphic, it's highlighted with the pink. It's a triangular area of the bladder floor. It's going to be formed by 3 openings: your right ureter, your left ureter, and your urethra. Okay, this is an important area to remember. Let's go into your male versus your female urethra. So for a female urethra, you're looking at about 4 centimeters. That's about 1.5 inches in length and 6 millimeters in diameter. It's going to be embedded in the anterior vaginal wall. It's protected by the pubic bone. The meatus is located between the clitoris and the vagina. It exits just anterior to the vagina. Okay. Your male urethra is actually going to be about 8 inches long, 20 to 25 centimeters. So that's 8 inches. And it's divided into 3 portions. You have your prostatic, your membranous, and your cavernous, with a lining continuous with that of the bladder. Okay. So your prostatic, it passes through the prostate gland. You will see those during prostatectomies, or you should have during your clinicals. And it contains the opening of the ejaculatory ducts. Your membranous portion passes through your pelvic wall, and your cavernous lies within the corpus spongiosum and extends through the penis. Okay? Almost done here, guys. We're going to go over the male reproductive and the female real quick for you, and a little bit of the menstrual phase. So your male reproductive system function is to manufacture the male gametes. So that's going to be your sperm, right? And it's made to deliver them into the female reproductive tract. So your testes are going to be those 2 oval shaped gonads in the picture. You'll see they're purple, and they're housed in the scrotum. And they begin development in the pelvis, and they descend into the scrotum via the inguinal canal approximately 2 months before birth. Cryptochidism, which is going to be your hidden, so they're tucked in, right? So they haven't essentially fallen yet. So the functions are going to be spermatogenesis and the production of testosterone. You have your epididymis, you see here, which is right next to your testes. This is a tightly coiled tube on the superior aspect of the testes, which holds sperm for maturation. Okay, so your sperm is stored in the epididymis as it waits to mature. Okay. Your vas deferens, these are going to be long tubes that convey semen from the epididymis to the ejaculatory ducts, okay? See your them right here, your vas deferens, okay? You can see the term right here on the right, the top right. It begins, like I said, the epididymis progresses upward over the pubic bone through the abdominal wall. Okay, it's going through the external inguinal ring, inguinal canal, and the internal inguinal ring goes behind the bladder and joins with the seminal vesicles to form your ejaculatory duct. Okay. It empties after it goes to the prostate gland into the prostatic urethra. Your spermatic cord includes your vas deferens, testicular artery, testicular veins, sympathetic nerves, and testicular lymphatics encased in the cremaster muscle. Okay. You have your seminal vesicles. These are 2 accessory reproductive glands lying behind the lower part of the bladder. It unites with the vas deferens on each side of the to form the ejaculatory duct. Okay. Your prostate gland. This is walnut-sized gland which completely encircles the male urethra just below the bladder. It consists of 6 lobes, and it's covered by a capsule or a fibrous sheath which separates it from the seminal vesicles and forms the internal sphincter. Okay? Then you have your penis. This is your pendulous organ suspended by ligaments from your pubic symphysis. It contains 3 vascular sponge-like bodies. Okay, it surrounds the urethra, which fill with blood during an erection, serves as the organ of copulation, which is sexual intercourse. A rich blood supply accommodates enlargement and rigidity for erection. Okay. Let's head into the female reproductive system. You see here, the function of the female reproductive system is to produce your female gametes, which is your ova, right? And to prepare your body for pregnancy, contain and support the fetus, and return the organs to normal following delivery of an infant, okay? First, we're going to start with your ovaries, or your oofer would be your med term, like you see oophorectomy listed for procedures. These are going to be two oval-shaped glands. They lie near the pelvic brim, and they're connected to the uterus by the ovarian ligament, secured to lateral walls of the pelvis by suspensory ligaments. They produce sex hormones and your eggs, okay? This is active from puberty until menopause, and they only extrude one egg per month during your active years. This is, obviously if someone has twins or triplets or whatnot, they've released more than one egg, or if they've done in vitro fertilization. But for what is typical, that is going to be one egg per month during your active years. You have your follicles. These are sacs in the ovary with eggs, varying in stages of development. You can always look up a graphic for that. I thought I had one. I don't. I think I do. Maybe on my last slide, we'll see. You have your Graafian follicle, which is considered a mature follicle. Your corpus luteum, which is the ruptured follicle, becomes this gland-like structure after the egg is released, okay? And here you have your female hormones. You have estrogen, progesterone, your human gonadotropin, your HCG. That's typically how you can tell that's what pregnancy tests test for, the levels of HCG. You have your oxytocin, your prolactin, okay? Your fallopian tubes, this is going to be your two oviducts that extend from the uterus to the ovaries. So this is connecting the two together. This is where you can get sometimes your pregnancies within your fallopian tubes. And the med term for fallopian tube is going to be salping, like salpingectomy, okay, which would be your removal of the fallopian tubes. And this is where the sperm does meet the egg. It's usually at the distal third of the fallopian tube and infibulum, but then the egg continues to move towards and then attach to the side of your uterus. So your uterus, where that egg is going to attach, is going to be thick-walled, pear-shaped organ. It's capable of tremendous expansion, okay? It's made up of 3 layers. You have your endometrium, which is your inner layer of mucous membrane. This is going to build up every month, and then it's going to be shed and discharged during your menstruation, okay? So remember, endo, inside. Myometrium, this is going to be your muscle layer. This is a thick, smooth middle layer of involuntary muscle under the control of the hormone oxytocin, okay? Again, remember the prefixes of the words. You have your epimetrium, which is going to be your outer layer, right? So epi, around, okay? Endo, inside, myo, muscle. Your myo is always in the middle. It's always covered by your other layers, okay? You have your fundus, which is part of your uterus. Here you'll see it at the top. This is your rounded portion. Your body, which is your main part, and your cervix, which is the neck of the uterus, okay? Your uterine ligaments are going to include your broad, uterosacral, your round, your cardinal, and your lateral cervical, and your ovarian. You do need to learn your uterine ligaments. It is important, especially the broad, the round, and the cardinal, okay? You will, these are Bartholin cysts. These are going to be the openings of these glands are located at either side of your vaginal entrance. They will get blocked, and it'll be like an infection. You can get a cyst or a buildup on them. They are said to be very painful, okay? Your mammary glands, your areola is going to be that pigmented ring around the nipple. You then have your nipple, Your lobes are subdivisions within your breasts, okay? All of this is here on this graphic for you. Your alveoli are milk producing units. Your lactiferous ducts, they carry milk from the alveoli to the nipple, right? So your alveoli actually produce the milk. The lactiferous ducts carry the milk to the nipple. You have your colostrum, which is part of your milk. That's going to be watery, nutritious secretion preceding your milk, okay? I do have your menstrual cycle in here. This is going to be the last slide we're going to go through. You have your phases of your menstrual cycle. You'll see here your menstrual phase, your follicular phase, your ovulation, your luteal. Within the middle of this graphic, that is the egg within the follicle, right, that we were discussing. So you'll see days 1 to 5. You start off with your egg within, you're going along, the sac is kind of forming in the follicle, and then it bursts, it sends the egg out along with hormones. This is where you see those hormonal changes during your menstrual cycle, okay? So your progesteronal phase was when the ruptured follicle produces that progesterone. That will increase the development of blood vessels and glandular tissues of the endometrium to prepare it for possible pregnancy, right? So it's oxygenating it, it's making it rich in case the egg enters the uterus, fertilized, and connects. It will help to provide that, okay? All right, so this was a much longer lecture than you're probably used to, but it was a full anatomy review. You have taken anatomy, so this is an overview of anatomy for you. I know it was long. If you hung in there, great. If you need to go back, look over stuff, but this is your anatomy review for this class. If you have any questions, please reach out and let me know. Thank you.